Let me start with a simple question. If one small habit done daily could silently change your entire destiny, would you be willing to do it, even on the days you don't feel like it? Stay with me till the end, because the last lessons will truly change how you see discipline, life, and yourself. Many of you listening today are ambitious, you have dreams, plans, and vision, but somewhere between intention and action, something breaks. You wake up motivated, you go to sleep disappointed, not because you lack talent, not because you lack intelligence, but because life is not defeated by big failures. Life is defeated by small inconsistencies repeated daily. And that's what today is about. Not motivation, not inspiration, but daily discipline. The quiet force that changes everything. Most people wait for motivation the way farmers wait for rain. When it comes, they feel alive. When it doesn't, everything stops. And the uncomfortable truth is this: motivation is unreliable. It comes when it wants, leaves when it wants, and never apologizes for disappearing at the exact moment you need it the most. That is why so many people start strong and finish nowhere. At the beginning of the year, motivation is high. New resolutions, fresh notebooks, gym memberships, vision boards, energy is flowing. But somewhere between day 10 and day 20, the excitement fades. The alarm rings, the mind negotiates, the heart hesitates. And suddenly, the same person who was so inspired last week is now saying, "I don't feel like it today." Life quietly smiles at this statement, because life does not run on feelings, it runs on commitment. Discipline begins exactly at the point where motivation ends. This is the moment that defines your future. When no one is clapping, when no one is watching, when the work feels boring, repetitive, and uncomfortable. This is where real growth happens. Think about it. You don't wait to feel inspired to brush your teeth. You don't wait for motivation to charge your phone. You don't wake up and say, "Let me see if I feel like eating today." These are non-negotiables. You do them because you understand the consequences of not doing them. Now ask yourself honestly, why are your dreams treated with less seriousness than your phone battery? Discipline is deciding in advance what deserves your effort, regardless of mood. It is emotional maturity in action. It is the ability to say, "Even if I don't feel like it today, I will still show up." And let me be very clear, discipline is not about being harsh with yourself. It is not about force, it is about clarity. When you are clear about why something matters, discipline stops feeling heavy. It becomes natural. A student who truly understands the value of education doesn't need constant reminders. A devotee who truly values prayer doesn't wait for perfect conditions. Clarity creates consistency. Most people think discipline is something extraordinary, meant only for highly successful people. That's a misunderstanding. Successful people are not disciplined because they are special. They are special because they chose discipline when it was ordinary, invisible, and uncomfortable. Every meaningful transformation begins in silence. No one sees you waking up early. No one sees you choosing effort over excuses. No one sees you practicing when progress feels slow, but life sees it, and life keeps score. When you rely only on motivation, you are surrendering control of your life to emotions, and emotions change faster than the weather. Discipline gives you stability. It grounds you. It allows progress even on bad days. And here is something deeply spiritual. Discipline is a form of faith. Faith that effort matters even when results are delayed. Faith that planting seeds daily will eventually lead to harvest. Many people say they believe in God, destiny, or purpose, but their daily actions don't reflect that belief. Discipline aligns belief with behavior. It turns hope into practice. And once you start living this way, something shifts inside you. You stop asking life to feel easy. You start becoming stronger. You stop depending on excitement. You start depending on Character. This is where confidence is born. Not from success, not from praise, but from knowing that even on the days you didn't feel like it, you still did what needed to be done. And when you build that relationship with yourself, when you know you can trust your own word, life starts trusting you too. This is why discipline is not optional. It is foundational. Without it, talent leaks, dreams fade, potential remains unused. But with it, even ordinary people create extraordinary lives. And this is only the beginning. Because once discipline becomes your anchor, the next lesson will change how you see small actions forever. Most people believe that big change requires big action, that if something is not dramatic, exhausting, or intense, it probably isn't important. And that belief quietly ruins lives, not in one day but over many years. Because life is not changed by explosions, it is changed by accumulation. A single push-up doesn't make you strong. A single page doesn't make you wise. A single prayer doesn't transform your heart. But when these small actions are done daily, without drama, without applause, something invisible starts happening. Strength builds quietly, wisdom deepens silently, character forms gently. Think about a drop of water falling on a stone. One drop means nothing. You could laugh at it, you could ignore it, but let that drop fall every day on the same spot with patience, and one day the stone breaks. Not because the water was powerful, but because it was consistent. This is how life works. Most people quit because they are obsessed with visible progress. They want quick results, immediate validation, and fast growth. When that doesn't happen, they assume their effort is useless. But effort is never useless. It is only unseen. The universe is always working in the background. When you read 10 minutes a day, your mind is slowly sharpening. When you wake up early, your self-respect is quietly growing. When you stay disciplined, your future is being rewritten. But because these changes are internal, people lose patience. Let me tell you something very honest. Your future self is begging you not to quit today. Small daily actions are powerful because they are sustainable. Anyone can work hard for one day. Anyone can feel inspired for a week. But very few people have the humility to do small things consistently without recognition. And humility is where growth begins. People often ask, how much should I do? The better question is, what can I do daily without breaking myself? Because discipline that exhausts you is not discipline, it is punishment. True discipline fits into your life naturally. It respects your limits while expanding them gradually. It asks for sincerity, not perfection. When you choose small actions, you remove fear. The mind stops resisting because the task no longer feels overwhelming. And once resistance is gone, consistency becomes possible. This is why small habits are revolutionary. They bypass your ego and reprogram your identity. You don't become confident by one big achievement. You become confident by daily evidence that you are showing up. And something magical happens when you commit to small actions. You stop waiting for the right time. Because small actions can be done anytime. On good days, on bad days, on ordinary days. Life doesn't reward intensity. Life rewards continuity. Are people with less talent than you who are living better lives. Not because they are lucky, but because they stayed consistent when you got bored. And boredom is dangerous. Because boredom whispers, this isn't working even when everything is working. Remember this, growth feels slow when it is real. Fast growth is often unstable. Slow growth is rooted. This is deeply spiritual. Even nature doesn't rush. A seed stays underground for a long time before it ever sees light. And if it complained during that phase, it would never become a tree. Your small daily actions are your seeds. Water them even when you see no results. Especially then, because one day, without warning, life will surprise you. You will look back and realize the change you were waiting for already happened, quietly, gradually, faithfully, and once you understand the power of small actions, the next lesson becomes inevitable. Because consistency begins to shape not just your habits, but how you see yourself. Discipline is often misunderstood as strictness, control, or force. Many people imagine discipline as waking up at uncomfortable hours, denying pleasure, or living under constant pressure. But that is not discipline. That is resistance. True discipline is something far more gentle and far more powerful. Discipline is self-respect in daily action. Every time you make a promise to yourself and keep it, something inside you heals. And every time you break a promise to yourself, something inside you weakens. Over time, these small moments shape how you feel about who you are. Most people struggle with confidence, not because they lack ability, but because they don't trust themselves anymore. They've told themselves they would start tomorrow. They've told themselves they would stop that habit. They've told themselves they would commit this time. And each time they didn't follow through, the inner voice became quieter, softer, less believable. Discipline rebuilds that inner trust. When you wake up on time, even when no one is forcing you, you send a message to yourself, I am reliable. When you sit with discomfort, instead of escaping it, you say, I am strong enough. When you show up on days that feel ordinary, you say, I matter even without applause. This is how self-worth is built, not through compliments, but through consistency. Many people wait for confidence before they act, but confidence doesn't come first. Action does. Discipline is the bridge. When you live undisciplined, your mind becomes chaotic. Too many decisions, too many distractions, too many unfinished intentions, and slowly the mind loses faith in itself. But discipline simplifies life. It removes unnecessary choices. It creates structure. And structure creates peace. You begin to feel grounded, clear, centered. This is why disciplined people often appear calm. Not because life is easy for them, but because they are not constantly negotiating with themselves. There is also something deeply spiritual here. In many traditions, self-control is considered sacred. Not because desire is bad, but because awareness is precious. Discipline teaches awareness. It teaches you to pause, to choose consciously instead of reacting impulsively. And when you live this way, your relationship with yourself transforms. You stop being your own enemy. You stop criticizing yourself harshly. Because you can finally say, I am trying. I am showing up. This is self-love with boundaries. Without discipline, self-love becomes indulgence. With discipline, self-love becomes growth. Think about how you treat someone you respect. You don't waste their time. You don't lie to them casually. You don't ignore their needs. Discipline is treating yourself with the same dignity. And here is the beautiful paradox. Discipline does not make life rigid. It makes life free. Because when you trust yourself, fear reduces. Anxiety reduces. You stop doubting your ability to handle challenges. You know that even if things get difficult, you will not abandon yourself. This is inner strength, and inner strength changes everything from how you speak, to how you walk, to how you face uncertainty. Once discipline becomes self-respect, you no longer need external validation because your actions already affirm your worth. And when this foundation is built, the next lesson becomes possible because discipline then moves from the personal to the mental. It begins to clear chaos, not just in your schedule, but in your mind. One of the most misunderstood sources of mental stress is not difficulty, it is disorder. Many people assume their anxiety comes from external pressure, competition, or lack of time. But if you observe carefully, Much of the mental exhaustion people feel comes from lives that are scattered. Too many tabs open in the mind, too many half-made decisions, too many unfinished intentions. When life lacks discipline, the mind carries unnecessary weight. Every unstructured day demands constant decision-making. What to do first, what to delay, what to ignore. These small decisions drain mental energy. By evening them, Ind is tired but not satisfied, busy but unfulfilled. Discipline reduces this chaos. When certain actions become routine, the mind relaxes. It no longer needs to argue or negotiate. It simply flows. This is why monks, athletes, and highly focused individuals follow simple, repetitive routines, not because they lack freedom, but because they value mental clarity. A disciplined life removes noise, and when noise reduces, awareness increases. You begin to hear your own thoughts clearly. You notice your emotions without being overwhelmed by them. You respond instead of reacting. This is inner peace, not the absence of problems, but the presence of order. Spiritually speaking, a restless mind cannot go deep. Stillness requires structure. That is why ancient traditions emphasize daily practices, prayer, meditation, reflection, not as rituals but as anchors. When you sit at the same time daily, the mind learns to settle. When you wake at a fixed hour, the body aligns with rhythm. Discipline creates harmony between body, mind, and soul, and harmony is healing. Many people search for peace through escape, travel, entertainment, distraction. But peace is not found by running away. It is found by creating alignment within. Discipline brings that alignment. When your day has a rhythm, life feels lighter. You stop feeling pulled in 10 directions. You begin to feel present, and presence is powerful. You start noticing small blessings. You start listening more deeply. You stop rushing through life as if something is chasing you. Discipline also protects you from regret. When your day is intentional, fewer hours are wasted. And even if progress is slow, there is satisfaction. Because effort was honest. This creates emotional stability. You are no longer constantly disappointed in yourself. You no longer end the day feeling guilty. Instead, there is quiet fulfillment. And here is something important. Discipline does not mean rigidity. It means conscious design. Flexibility exists, but not chaos. A disciplined mind is like a clean room. You can find what you need. You can think clearly. You can rest deeply. This is why people who practice discipline often sleep better. Their mind is not cluttered with undone things and broken promises. And when the mind becomes clear, intuition becomes stronger. You begin to sense what is right and what is not. Decisions become simpler. This clarity prepares you for challenges. Because when difficulty comes, and it always does, you face it with steadiness instead of panic. And this is where discipline becomes courage. Once the mind is clear, you no longer seek the easy escape. You become capable of choosing what is right, even when it is difficult. And that brings us to the next lesson. The one most people avoid, but the one that transforms character completely. Every single day, life quietly places two options in front of us. They don't come with labels. They don't announce themselves loudly, but they are always there. One option feels comfortable, the other feels correct. One promises ease, the other promises growth. Discipline is the inner strength that helps you choose what is right, even when what is easy is calling you loudly. Most people are not lazy. They are just trained to seek comfort. And comfort is very persuasive. It speaks in a soft voice. It says, just today. It says, you deserve a break. It says, start tomorrow, and tomorrow becomes a habit. Discipline interrupts this pattern not with anger but with awareness. It reminds you that short-term comfort often steals long-term peace. Skipping effort feels good for a moment. Avoiding responsibility feels light initially, but the weight comes later, quietly, slowly, painfully. Regret is heavier than effort. People often think disciplined people are missing out on life. But the truth is the opposite. Undisciplined people miss out the most on growth, on confidence, on fulfillment. Discipline teaches you to delay gratification. And delayed gratification is not denial, it is wisdom. It is understanding that some joys are sweeter when earned. Think about a student who studies when friends are relaxing. At that moment, it feels unfair. But later, when opportunities open, the same discipline feels like grace. Life always balances accounts. What you avoid today, you pay for tomorrow with interest. What you face today, you're rewarded for later with peace. Discipline gives you the courage to sit with discomfort, to stay present when things feel boring, difficult, or slow. And this ability to stay is rare. Most people quit not because the path is wrong, but because the middle is uncomfortable. Discipline teaches you to respect the process. Growth does not ask for intensity, it asks for sincerity. It asks you to keep going even when progress is invisible. Especially then, and here's a quiet truth, doing what is right strengthens your character, even when no one knows. You may not receive applause, you may not receive validation, but something far more valuable happens. You respect yourself. That respect becomes inner confidence. Hence, when you consistently choose what is right, your self-image changes. You stop seeing yourself as weak. You stop doubting your ability to handle difficulty. You know you can be trusted. This inner strength is deeply spiritual, because spiritual life is not about escaping challenges. It is about facing them consciously. Discipline trains your will, and a trained will can carry responsibility, purpose, and service. Without discipline, even good intentions collapse under pressure. This is why people with strong discipline often seem calm during chaos. They have practiced choosing responsibility over comfort long before the crisis arrived. And here is something important. Discipline does not remove joy, it purifies it. It removes the guilt, the excess, the emptiness that comes from indulgence. Joy without discipline becomes addiction. Pleasure without discipline becomes dependence. Discipline protects joy by placing it in balance. And slowly something beautiful happens. What once felt difficult begins to feel natural. What once felt forced becomes a part of who you are. You stop arguing with yourself. You stop needing motivation. You simply do what needs to be done. This is maturity. And maturity is freedom. Because when you are no longer controlled by comfort, you are finally in control of your life. This lesson prepares you for something deeper. Because when discipline becomes steady, life begins to respond differently to you. Responsibilities come, opportunities come, trust comes. And that brings us to the next lesson, where discipline stops being just personal effort and becomes a silent agreement between you and life itself. There is a quiet law operating in life, most people never notice. Life responds to reliability, not talent alone, not intelligence alone, but reliability. When you show up consistently, even imperfectly, life begins to take you seriously. At first, discipline feels like effort. You push yourself, you remind yourself, you struggle a little. But over time, something shifts. Discipline stops feeling like pressure and starts feeling like alignment. You and life begin to cooperate. Opportunities don't come randomly. They come when you are ready to carry them, and readiness is built through discipline. Think about responsibility. Who do you trust with something important? Someone who promises passionately, or someone who shows up quietly every single time? Life works the same way. When you are disciplined, you send a message to existence, I am dependable, and existence responds by placing more in your hands. This is not superstition. This is experience. Students who study regularly attract better mentors. Employees who work sincerely attract growth. People who live disciplined lives attract clarity and direction. Because discipline creates capacity. God does not overload you. Life does not overwhelm you. You are given what you are prepared to handle. And preparation is daily, not dramatic. Many people pray for bigger roles, bigger success, bigger impact. But they are careless with small responsibilities. And life is very gentle, but very precise. It first gives you something small to see how you handle it. Discipline is how you pass these silent tests. And here is the spiritual truth. Grace flows where effort meets sincerity, not where laziness meets hope. Discipline is not in competition with faith, it is faith in action. When you wake up early to work on your purpose, that is prayer. When you resist temptation and choose awareness, that is prayer. When you continue even when results delay, that is prayer. You are telling life, I trust the process, and life begins to trust you back. This mutual trust creates momentum. Things start moving, not always quickly, but steadily. And steady progress is powerful. You begin to feel guided, supported, not because everything is easy, but because everything feels meaningful. Discipline aligns you with rhythm, and rhythm is natural. The sun rises daily, the seasons change gradually, the universe does not rush, yet nothing is late. When your life becomes rhythmic, resistance reduces, anxiety reduces, you stop forcing outcomes, you focus on effort, and when effort is pure, outcomes take care of themselves. This is where many people misunderstand destiny. Destiny is not fixed, it is formed, and discipline is the tool. Every day you show up, you are shaping what tomorrow will trust you with. And there is a deep peace in this realization. You stop blaming circumstances. You stop waiting for miracles. You become part of the miracle. And now, the final lesson, this is the heart. This is where everything comes together, because discipline, when lived fully, becomes more than habit. It becomes devotion. Many people pray for clarity. They pray for peace. They pray for purpose. But prayer alone is incomplete without preparation. Discipline is the silent preparation that gives prayer direction. Discipline is not separate from spirituality. It is spirituality lived daily. When you wake up on time despite tiredness, you are saying, my life has meaning. When you choose effort over avoidance, you are saying, I am willing to grow. When you stay consistent even when no one notices, you are saying, I trust the process. This is devotion without noise. True purpose is not discovered in one moment of inspiration. It is revealed gradually through disciplined living. Purpose unfolds when your actions align with your values again and again. Many people wait for a sign, but life is already giving signs. Through daily responsibilities, through small opportunities, through repeated chances to show sincerity. Discipline helps you recognize those signs. Prayer without discipline becomes wishful thinking. Discipline without prayer becomes ego. But when the two walk together, life becomes balanced. You stop demanding outcomes. You start offering effort, and effort offered sincerely becomes sacred. There is something profoundly transforming about living a disciplined life. You begin to feel connected, not just to your goals, but to something higher. Your daily actions start carrying meaning beyond personal gain. You realize that discipline is not about controlling life, it is about cooperating with it. And when you cooperate with life, fear reduces, confusion reduces. You stop fighting yourself. Your energy stops leaking into regret, comparison, and distraction. It starts flowing into creation, service, and contribution. This is where fulfillment lives. Discipline teaches you to respect time, and time, when respected, reveals wisdom. You begin to understand that every day is not meant to be extraordinary, but every day is meant to be lived consciously. And consciousness is the highest form of success. A disciplined life brings quiet confidence. You no longer chase validation. You no longer need constant reassurance, because your daily effort reassures you. And here is the most beautiful part. Discipline does not make life heavy. It makes it light. Because when your actions are aligned, there is no inner conflict. You sleep better. You think clearer. You walk steadier. Life feels simpler. Not because it is easier, but because you are stronger. Discipline turns ordinary days into sacred offerings. And over time, those ordinary days build an extraordinary life. Not a perfect life, not a problem-free life, but a meaningful one. So don't ask yourself, can I change my whole life today? Ask yourself, what is the one disciplined action I can repeat daily? Start there, because the life you are praying for is already responding to the discipline you practice today. And remember this, true success is not how loudly you win, it is how consciously, faithfully, and responsibly you live. One disciplined day at a time. So don't wait for a perfect moment, because life is shaped in imperfect ones. Don't wait to feel ready, because readiness is born through action. Offer your effort sincerely every day and trust that grace will meet you there. When you do your part with discipline, faith does its part with direction. Remember this always. God doesn't ask for brilliance, He asks for consistency. Live consciously, act responsibly, and let your daily discipline become your quiet prayer. Because when effort is faithful and intention is pure, life cannot help but rise to meet you.